Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this quick webinar/workshop on AI for finance and FP&A. So AI is everywhere. Everybody is talking about AI. Probably every second post that you see on LinkedIn is on AI. People doing a lot of experiments, companies talking about AI, influencers talking about AI, that you can do this, you can do that, projecting AI as something which is magical. It's going to do all your jobs. You're going to just click a button and watch it do all your jobs. But let me tell you frankly, AI is not there yet. It's not that simple. So today we will try and unpack some aspects about where we are with AI, what is the status of the tools, and also try and look at some use cases as to how we have been using AI in our finance and FP&A function. So again, in the limited time we have, we may not be able to cover many use cases, but we'll try and cover some use cases so that it gives you an idea of what are the different ways in which you can leverage AI in your finance and roles. I welcome all of you once again. First of all, thank you for your trust. In your busy schedule, you have taken your valuable 60 to 90 minutes to spend time with us. So thank you for your trust. And pat yourselves on the back for taking action. So not many people are willing to take action. In fact, Harvard study says that less than 3% of the people take active action to develop their careers. And no wonder less than 3% of the people are leading the world's organizations. So the fact that you have taken that action to focus and spend time for the next 60 minutes here with us shows a lot. So pat yourselves on the back for taking that action. A little bit about us before we begin with. My name is Dhawal Parvatikar. I'm a qualified chartered accountant. I've also completed my 1-year executive general management program from IIM Ahmedabad. Over the last 16 years, I've served as a finance leader and a CFO across India and the Middle East in various industries like oil and gas, software, advertising and public relations, commodity trading company, and much more. I'm now the co-founder and lead faculty at FP&A Professionals Institute. Over the last 5 years, I've been an active trainer and an online mentor. I have trained more than 5,000 professionals on various topics like FP&A, business partnering, CFO coaching, data storytelling, and using AI tools and much more. I've also had the privilege to be part of more than 10 CFO events in recent times over the last 1 year. Somewhere I've gone in as a moderator, as a host, as a speaker, as a keynote speaker. So it's been an interesting journey over the last 12 to 18 months. And I have built a vibrant community of more than 200 CFOs across the Middle East. I'm joined by my co-founder and partner, Asif Masani. Asif, a quick introduction from your end.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, and always a pleasure to do these webinars on Fridays. So, quick introduction about me. I've been working in finance and very specifically in FP&A for over a decade now. I started in audit back in 2010, moved into FP&A in 2013, and right from becoming right from starting as an analyst to becoming a assistant manager to manager. My most recent role was with Coursera, which was leading the APAC and India FP&A function, and that's when back in 2022-23 we decided to start the Professionals Institute, and happy to share that we'll be talking about more about the institute in a bit. But about me, I've been working in finance and FP&A across different industries for over a decade now, and I've had an opportunity to bring together a lot of FP&A experts. So we at FP&A Professionals Institute are not just sharing our expertise that we have accumulated over the last couple of decades, but we try to bring in guest speakers, experts. I've had an opportunity to meet FP&A experts right across the globe, from North America to Middle East to Europe, and our sincere effort, or what I would say, our sincere. Let me just mute everybody. Our sincere effort is there to make sure that we bring in all those expertise through all our content, whether it be books, courses, certifications, webinars, podcasts, whatever we do at FPNA Professional Institute. Over the last, I would say, 3 years now, we have trained more than 5,000 students across all of these certifications and courses that you see on the screen. And we'll be talking about some of them at the end of the webinar. So that's a little bit about me and the Professional Institute. We'll get started with the webinar, and I'll give it back to Dhawal.
Thank you so much, Asif. Always a pleasure to partner with you. So a quick roadmap of what are we going to cover today over the next 60 to 70 minutes. We'll start with the CFO's AI vision, right? So what are CFOs thinking about AI? what are their expectations when it comes to AI? And then we look at the different levels of AI, depending on the maturity, depending on the complexity of the task. There are different levels of AI that can be put to use. And then some use cases, some practical use cases around what's going on in the industry, some of the experiments that both Asif and I have conducted. So we'll share with you some of the use cases, which will give you an idea of how it can be, how AI can be integrated in your workflow. And then we'll talk about some next steps of how you can go for AI upskilling and what are some of the next steps around it. And then we'll break for Q&A as well. Okay, so all in all, a value-packed 60 minutes, I would say. So just get rid of all the distractions and completely focus on what we are trying to share here. Okay, again, I want to start with a disclaimer that AI is a fast evolving field. Nobody is a full-on AI expert, right? So neither we are. So we're trying our best to kind of integrate AI in our workflow as much as possible. So I want to start with that disclaimer that if anybody is claiming to be an AI expert, then maybe they'll not be in 6 months, right? So that's the disclaimer that I want to start this session with. Okay, so we'll try our best to cover some interesting use cases that might be helpful for you. Okay, so starting with the CFO's AI vision. So what are CFOs expecting out of AI tools, or what kind of capabilities are CFOs expecting? So first is around efficiency, right? So they want to automate all the repetitive tasks, right? Eliminate manual errors, reduce cycle times and turnaround times as much as possible. Then insight, when you try to implement AI, right? So you can get better set of insights and insights which can give you a lot of agility and which can be generated much faster than your manual working or manual insights. And also predictive analysis, looking at the trends and patterns from all different angles, from all different tools within the company. They are looking for some predictive analysis as well. And of course, innovation on either business models or how finance approaches its routine tasks as well. So these are the expectations or the CFO's AI vision. I mean, to some extent, there are bold visions put out by some AI experts that it will be a one-person CFO's office. So there is a CFO sitting at the top, and everything is done by AI agents or AI employees. So that's the CFO's AI vision, or a one-person CFO office is what some AI experts are talking about these days. Now, what can be done with AI? In realistic terms, there are three things that you can normally try to achieve with AI. One is automate, right? So there are a lot of routine tasks, manual steps that you're going through right now, and you can automate either some of them or fully automated or partially automated. For example, today, if I'm taking 5 steps to prepare a presentation, maybe AI will help me to automate 3 out of these steps or 4 out of these steps. So that's where we are with automation in AI. And then comes augment. Augment is enhancing your own intelligence with the collective intelligence that the AI tool is offering. For example, today for me to think like a CFO, okay, it's extremely easy, right? So I can try and do my conversations with ChatGPT. In fact, I had done one experiment where I said that, okay, hey, I am the CFO of Marks and Spencer's, or I'm the global CFO of Marks and Spencer's retail store. Help me come up with an AI strategy for my retail store, which I want to present it to the CEO. So these kind of experiments where collective intelligence of the tool can help you augment your own intelligence or add to your own intelligence. So that is what some of the steps that you can use for. It is basically to enhance your own intelligence, insights, and scenario analysis. Then completely transforming the operations, automating, semi-automating, autonomous kind of operations. So those are the things where it comes to transformation. So either you can automate your routine tasks, augment your intelligence, and then transform. So these are some of the 3 realistic applications of AI, which is an opportunity for finance leaders to implement. Now, what are the different levels of AI? Again, artificial intelligence in itself is a vast field, right? So you have very many different topics and subtopics and sub kind of concepts within AI. But what is relevant for finance function is 4 different aspects. The first one is robotic process automation. And this RPA even existed even before the AI buzz started, right? So a lot of automated steps-driven or rule-driven processes can still be automated using RPA, even without a full-fledged or full-blown AI infrastructure within your company, right? I was speaking to a CFO of an insurance company a few months ago, and her claim was that nearly 90% of the claims that are being put by consumers is now being automated through RPA. Right? So 90% of the claims are almost processed by RPA. It's all automated. There need not be any kind of intervention.
Okay, sir. This
Sorry,
month, 400.
if you can just please mute yourselves. Yeah. So there need not be any kind of manual intervention in processing the claim. And of course, there are 10% of the claims which require some special intervention, and those need to be handled manually by the claim processing agent. So that is one of the use cases for RPA. And then the next level is machine learning. Machine learning is useful where there is large set of historical data, large chunks of historical data, 5 years of exhaustive historical data, cleanly arranged. If that is available, then the machine can learn the patterns, right? And it can do a lot of things, right? From predictive revenue forecasting to fraud detection to credit scoring. A lot of things can be done through machine learning. The machine learns itself, recognizes the patterns, and then predicts the future for you or predicts the outcome for you. So that is machine learning. And then comes generative AI. Generative AI is where you are trying to create. It also understands natural language. You can talk to the tool in terms of natural language. It will understand, it will help you generate commentaries, it will help you do analysis, build different kind of narratives, build different kind of policies. All of these things are part of your generative AI. And then comes agentic AI. Agentic AI is where the AI agent acts like an artificial person, and it does the task autonomously. I can put a AP agent, or I can put a customer service agent, agentic AI, and it does the things on its own. For example, I recently saw attended in one of the conferences where they were introducing AI, agentic AI for real estate tool. This AI agent will actually do the calls with the consumer. Once the lead is generated, this agent will do the call with the consumer, talk in natural language, like have a natural conversation with them, and then book an appointment to show them the flat, show them the apartment, or show them the villa or whatever, right? And then generate that appointment as well. So it can talk in natural language and book similar to your Siri or a Google Assistant. So that is one example or one variation of agentic AI. So these are the different levels of AI. You don't need all of these levels in your company or all of these levels in your current finance and accounting role, depending on what is the task that you want to do, right? If the company is spending a lot of time on similar rule-based things that can be automated, then RPA is sufficient. And if the company has resources to build in their own model, their own machine learning model, then that is possible as well. So a lot of options are possible, but these are the different levels of AI that are relevant for the finance and accounting function. Okay. Now, what are some of the use cases in AI? Again, there are tons and tons of use cases. I'm sure you must have seen examples, right from video creation to dashboard creation to generating content to email writing. Everywhere AI is impacting. Again, some of the use cases, again, I don't want to spend too much time. There's plenty of content available on AI use cases, right? So financial planning and analysis, you can do advanced budgeting, predictions, scenario planning, what-if analysis. All of that is possible through AI, either fully or partially, or it can help you eliminate some of the steps in while preparing a commentary or while preparing a scenario planning. Then financial accounting and financial close, right? Again, automated reconciliations, variance analysis, close process optimization. All of these are some of the use cases which are in the accounting and financial close. Treasury and cash management, again, cash flow optimization, liquidity, understanding the different kind of FX contracts, FX risk management, working capital analysis. All of that is possible through some AI tools in the treasury and cash management space. Then financial reporting. This is all about your regulatory reportings, management commentaries, even preparing investor decks or investor relations deck or analyst deck. All of that is possible in financial reporting. Risk and compliance. That's all a different kind of compliance monitoring, identifying anomalies or making sure some assessment is done on the risks and where you stand. How can you mitigate those risks? All of that is available and possible through or being assisted through AI as well. And then, of course, routine tasks like accounts payable, receivable, invoice processing, payments, bank reconciliations. All of these things are automations are possible in these. Even automations are even possible without AI as well, but AI is kind of enhancing those automations or speeding up those automations in this space as well. So these are some of the practical use cases that you can find out for in the finance field. Okay. Now, before we show you some examples of how we have been experimenting with AI and how we have been integrating AI tools in our workflow, let me also just quickly cover the state of AI tools. Most of us, when we talk about AI, right? So we are thinking about a tool. I get asked this question every now and then. Hey, which AI tool do I learn? Okay. The answer is that it is not that simple that I will learn one AI tool, then I'll give some magical prompt and I'll just sit and watch everything to be done on its own. Unfortunately, it's not that simple, right? There are multiple tools with their own strengths and weaknesses available out there. But what are the different types of tools? We can categorize them into 3 or 4 broad buckets. Okay. One is the general purpose AI tools. That is your publicly available tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Copilot. All of these things are generally available too. And I'm sure most of you have already integrated these in your workflow, whether it is for email generation or brainstorming or doing some basic analysis. All of that is being served by general purpose AI. And then there are embedded AI functions that are being implemented step by step. For example, if I take Anaplan as a tool, or if I take, let's say, JDocs as a FP&A tool, right? So the other day I was looking at a demo of JDocs. Now JDocs has implemented embedded AI into their tool itself. So if I have to prepare let's say a waterfall chart between Q3 and Q4 to understand the variances, I don't need to prepare or drag and drop or do anything now. I can simply open a ChatGPT style window on the right, give a natural language prompt saying that, hey, I'm looking at preparing a waterfall chart between Q3 and Q4. These are the cost centers or these are the profit centers that I want to focus on. And then JDocs itself will prepare a waterfall chart for you and give it to you on the screen, right? So that is embedded AI, where an AI window is being embedded in your typical ERP or an EPM tool or a planning tool itself. Right. So that is where most of the AI developments are happening. Copilot is another example of embedded AI, where within Excel, you can use natural language query to do a lot of analysis or not remember formulas anymore. So that is where embedded AI is. And then some specialized AI tools are being developed, whether it is AP related tools or reconciliation or AI related tools or planning related tools. All of these are developed, which are specialized AI tools, which serve only one single purpose, and their knowledge, the tool's understanding is much broader compared to the generic data sets. They are coming up with a background of specific data sets. That's why they are specialized AI tools and serve only a specific purpose. And then there are emerging solutions, which are your agentic AI platforms or autonomous finance agents or specialized solutions. So all of these are emerging solutions which will slowly being developed and implemented. One thing that we are seeing as a trend is enterprise AI solutions, which means that a company will have its own or its own model, which will be like a ChatGPT style model, which will be implemented inside the company. Okay. And everybody in the company will be using this tool. For example, let's say if I have to find out, let's say if there are 800 customers in the company, I want to find out which are the contracts which are coming up for renewal in the next month. Okay. Now, I don't need to even open a contract tracker or a contract management system. I'll just use this tool to do a natural language prompt and say, hey, can you give me the set of contracts that are expiring next month, customer contracts that are expiring next month? And it will give me a list by looking at the data which is inside the company, right? So that is how you can also ensure security. Now, some of these tools, especially generative AI tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, all of these may still not be enterprise grade, which means that you have to be very careful when you're sharing your company data or even your own personal information like your own bank statement or your photograph or something like that. So be very careful about this, about using it in a public domain, because they don't have enterprise grade security or they don't have that company level confidentiality, right? So once that enterprise grade security comes in or enterprise grade adoption happens, then those will be available within the company to be used for various purposes. So this is the current state of different kind of AI tools. There are hundreds of different kind of AI tools available out there, but broadly they can be classified into these 3 or 4 buckets, for ease of understanding. Okay. Now that we have some basic understanding about the CFO's office, what are different levels of AI and also the state of current tools of AI in finance, we will now look at some live use cases which we have been experimenting and we have been trying to embed AI in our workflow. We'll show you some examples, whichever time permits, and then we can look at the next steps as well. Okay. So any thoughts, any questions so far before we get into the use case examples that we would like to show? Of course, you may have some questions which could get answered in the subsequent slides. So maybe we can take questions in the end as well. But I want to just give it quick 30 seconds to see Is there any questions on the slides that we have already covered so far? All right. I don't see any questions. So I hope everybody is still active and awake. So let's start with some of the use cases that we would like to show, which we have been experimenting, which we have been using in our workflow. And then that should help you understand where are we with AI as well. Okay, cool. So what we'll do is we'll show you some examples on different tools. We'll try and show you one example of ChatGPT, a couple of examples on ChatGPT, how we've been using a couple of examples of using different kind of tools like Manus or some other tools as well. So we'll try and show you a couple of examples so that it gives you an understanding of where we are with these tools as well. Okay. So let me quickly get started and let me give you some context to this case, right? So when I was working with an advertising agency, I used to work closely with the business teams to come up with the pricing for the clients, client bids, right? So we used to bid for these client projects. So the clients will come up with certain requirements. Let's say, for example, Microsoft. Okay. So Microsoft comes up with its advertising or a public relations communications mandate and saying that, hey, these are the things that we are looking for. They invite the advertising agencies or communication agencies to bid for this particular project. And in this process, we had to estimate the resources, add different kind of overheads, add different kind of load it with different kind of margins, overheads, and different examples. And then finally come up with a retainer or the monthly retainer amount that we are going to quote to Microsoft as part of that bidding process. So this was one of the things that we were using. And I'll show you how the Excel sheet looked like. I'll show you a simple example of an Excel sheet of how it looked like. And then we can see how we can automate it. So this is how the Excel sheet looked like. So let's say there is client one, we are trying to bid for this particular client one. And to service this client, we need different kinds of designations. Let's say a senior vice president will spend 5% of their time every month. An account director will spend 25% of their time. And then similarly, we had different kind of account executives. Account executive is a customer relationship account executive, not the finance and accounting executive. So then media relations. So these were some of the different designations that were used. And their salary or the salary band was updated here. That gave us the staff costs, the estimated staff cost. And then there are overhead charges, the infrastructure, their laptop, subscriptions, rental, all of these things was loading, an overhead percentage that is to be loaded. And then that gives us the total cost. And then the agency markup, how much margin we wanted to make on this, whether 15%, 20%, 25%. And we also wanted to keep some room for negotiation as well. So this markup was added. And then this way we used to compute our monthly fee. Again, the real example used to be far more complex than this, but I'm just giving you a simple example in the interest of time. So this is how the retainer fee was worked out. This used to give us an annual retainer fee. Then if you divide it by monthly, so you get a monthly retainer fee, which is roughly 84,000 dirhams in this case, which is roughly about $23,000. So this is how the agency retainer fee or a monthly retainer fee was calculated. And I always had this struggle that one of my team members or one of the financial analysts will have to always make sure and sit with the business teams to kind of work this out with them, right? So I always had this ambition that, hey, if there used to be a tool or a self-service tool, where everything comes preloaded, and if the business team or the project manager can just fill in the time percentages, the retainer should pop up automatically. So that was my ambition probably 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago, when I was working with an advertising agency. And finally, to some extent, ChatGPT has allowed us to do that as well. So let me just quickly show you what ChatGPT has done on this space. Just quickly. Okay. So this is where I tried to create a agency retainer simulator, right? So this is the agency retainer simulator experiment. So where I gave a prompt to ChatGPT saying that, okay, I'm going to share with you an Excel sheet, study it and create an agency retainer price simulator in HTML. It will be like a website where department heads or project managers can put in their own designations hours, and then the system should give them a retainer amount per month, right? So that's the kind of prompt that I gave. And then I shared the pricing Excel sheet, which I just showed you. I shared that sheet with it. And then it started asking me some more questions, which I answered. And finally, include markups, overheads, column for markups, overheads, etc. And then it gave me and it coded on its own. I have absolutely no idea what this coding is. And then finally, it came up with a agency retainer simulator, and it looks something like this. So let me just quickly preview it for you. Okay. So this is how the agency retainer simulator looks like. So this is a plug and play tool. I can change anything, I can add anything, right? But the only thing in this is I need to load the rate test rate card. Okay. Now, how does a rate card look like? Let me just quickly show that to you as well. So here is a rate card. Let's assume that the company name is called Peak Advertising. Okay. And this Peak Advertising has a rate card which goes something like this. Okay. For executive president, it is 625 dirhams per hour. So these are again direct cost or salary costs. Okay, see, these are hourly costs. These are not the pricing that will be charged to the client, but these are hourly costs based on the band or the salary band of these particular designations. Now, there could be 5,000 employees in the company, but their hourly rate is a standard which is within the band, and this is the average kind of a rate that is costing or their salary range for each of these hourly salary range for each of these different kind of designations. So what I'll do is I'll quickly take this rate card. I'm going to put it here. Let me just try and load some sample, choose file. Okay, AI course files, rate card. I'm just uploading this rate card. Okay. Now the rate card is uploaded. In this, I'm going to now build a quick pricing for Microsoft. Okay. Let's say Microsoft social media, yeah, retainer. Okay, let's say I'm bidding for Microsoft social media management. Yeah. And now in this, I want to also build a overheads percentage. Now let's assume that the overheads is 110%. Yeah. So for every $100 that I'm spending on the people, I'm going to spend $110 on the infrastructure, which is basically rent, subscriptions, IT tools, all of these things. And then I want to make, let's say, a 25% markup on my retainer fee on the costs, and then quote it to Microsoft. Okay. So then there are some basic details like billable days. Typically, a month has 22 billable days. Utilization, average utilization is 85%. Like for example, if I've hired a account director or an accounts manager or let's say a social media manager, this social media manager on an average will spend 85% of his time on billable tasks. And then of course there'll be some trainings, admin, lunch breaks. All of these things are natural wastage. So utilization is considered as 85%. Okay. Now, if you notice, once I loaded this file, I'm now able to get drop-down options to select the designations. Now, let's say, for example, I am selecting vice president. Let's assume that I'm getting the hourly rate also, which is being picked up from the file. And let's say this vice president is going to spend 5 hours on this client every month. Okay. And I'm going to add a few more rows as well. Let's say I need a account director who's going to be fronting this particular client, and maybe let's say he's going to give 20 hours a month to this particular client. I'm going to add one more row, or let's say I add two more rows. I'm going to take a couple of account executives as well. Let's say I take one account executive who's going to give 50% of his time on this client. So typically we consider 160 hours as working hours in a month. So 80 hours is something that this executive will be giving. Let's add another coordinator as well, who's going to give another 80 hours, or let's say 100 hours. As a junior employee, so probably you'll be working more, or a dedicated employee. So we'll be working more on this. So maybe let's say there'll be a dedicated account coordinator. So I'll add 160 hours as well. So now I got the costing or the direct costing for this particular team mix. And then on top of that, the model is adding an overheads loading of 110%, markup of 25%, and my retainer fee and plus taxes. So my retainer fee works out to 57,000 dirhams, which I will be then quoting to Microsoft. Of course, I'll be agreeing this with the project manager and then go ahead and quoting this to Microsoft. Okay. And then, of course, there are certain options where, again, I have not built that, but there are these buttons. You can activate them, you can print them, save them, export them into Excel, whatever you would like to do. Those options are also available. Okay. So this is a simple example. You can build a complex model. You can add probably 200 rows of rate card, whatever you would like to do. Again, this is one of the models that is simple, and it will help you work out on a retainer fee for a client as well. I wish I had this kind of a model. I wanted to always build a self-service model and give it to all the executives, because all the account managers and project managers were spread across the country. There are 5 or 7 branches across India at that point in time. And we wanted to make everybody capable. And teaching everybody Excel is far more difficult than a simple tool like this, which they can just do a drag and drop. They can play with the percentages, they can play with the hours, and then they are able to come up with a retainer amount. And of course, the margin percentage will give them a certain kind of a threshold. It will allow some scope for negotiation as well. I was a CFO, so below, I had given them, instructed the team that, okay, if you have to go below this percentage, then take an approval from the CFO or the CEO, as the case might be, right? So this is a simple agency retainer price simulator that I quickly wanted to share with you. Any thoughts, any questions on this? Maybe let's look at some more use cases and then we will pause for questions in the end.
Yeah, there's a comment, Dhawal, in the chat. I'll just read it out for you.
Okay,
I
okay.
think this kind of a model can be generated from pro subscription of ChatGPT. Free version is not able to generate this. Please correct
Yes.
me.
So everything, almost everything that we are going to show today is through premium subscriptions. Free ChatGPT has a lot of limitations, especially in terms of generating file uploads, the size of the content, the number of words restriction. So all of that is there. So almost anything if you want to do a meaningful comes with the premium subscription. So I want to put a disclaimer on that as well. But yes.
Yeah. However, if you are based out of India, they've recently, I think 1 month, they've introduced instead of a $19 subscription, they've also introduced a $4 or a $5 subscription, which is also very good. So I tried to downgrade it for a month, and I haven't seen a lot of difference in my performance. So uh, if you want to go for a premium version, there are two options now. There's a $5 or a $4 version, and then there's a $19 version in if you are in India, especially.
Yeah, thank you, Dhawal and Asif. Thank you.
Okay, so Asif, let's pick up one or two more cases and then I think we'll take questions in the end.
Yeah, yeah. So you want me to
Yep.
show one of the cases? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I'll be sharing a few use cases which I've been using and I've been sharing in our classes in FP&A Professional Institute as well. So first one is around the analysis of annual report. So let me first share the file that I'm going to analyze in the next few minutes. So this is a 500-page annual report. Typically, when I had to do this earlier, maybe 5 years back, it used to take probably good 2 to 3 days, maybe 5 hours a day. So good 15 to 20 hours of work, which now you could easily do it in a matter of 15 to 20 minutes. Okay. So right now I'm showing you a use case of analyzing an annual report, but this principles or these techniques, you could use it to analyze any lengthy document, which could be 500 plus pages. Okay. So let me just share my screen and I've shared the sample document with you in the chat box. It's a 50 MB file. It might take a minute to come up in the chat box. However, let me still put it while we are, just in case if you want to download it and try it yourself later on, you could do that. Yes, I've uploaded it. It might take a minute for it to come up, but in the meanwhile, I'll start sharing my screen. Okay, Rahul, you let me know once my screen is visible to you.
We can see it now.
Okay, so let me open up the file that I have just shared in the chat box. Okay, so this is a typical annual report of any company, which is going to be anything between 200 to 500 pages. And if you're somebody who's trying to figure out or if you're trying to analyze what the report is saying, you may have to spend a good amount of time reading it, maybe 2 to 3 hours reading it in detail, okay, which can be, I would not say eliminated, but it can be fast tracked using AI. And let me show some of the things that I have usually done with it. Okay. So I have attached the annual report of this company named Tata Motors, which is a 500 plus page document that I just showed you. Okay. And I am now asking the tool to read it, analyze it, and provide financial and operational insights out of it. And I have given certain steps based on my experience. So earlier, I used to just give a one line prompt like this. However, the output was not to my liking. So over time, I have realized that more detailed prompt you give, or more background and more context and more guidance you give it in the prompt, based on that, you get a better result. So I have given it some direction and I'm saying, okay, you have to follow these different steps. Okay, I'm not going to read out the entire steps here, but I'm giving it some direction and I'm saying, okay, step number one is you identify the key sections of the file and locate and understand what the annual report has different sections. Okay, extract the financial information, focus on the income statement, balance sheet. So I've given it some steps based on what I would have instructed probably an intern if I was working and I was delegating this task to an intern. Okay, then I am also giving it some output format, because what I notice is if you don't give ChatGPT an output format, it will randomly do any format and give it to you. But if you're specifically looking for an output format, for example, right now I'm looking for a paragraph form summary or a highlights in the form of paragraphs. Okay, you could specify that in the prompt. Okay, if you're not looking for a paragraph, if you're looking for bullet points, you can say that I am looking for some bullet points or 5 or 6 key bullet points from this particular document. Okay, and anything additional apart from that, I am also adding that. Okay, based on the mistakes that I have seen it has made in the past. And if you notice at the bottom of the screen, it says that ChatGPT can make mistakes, and you have to check all the information that you are generating out of it or all the work that you are taking from it. Okay. So pay attention to any significant changes in performance or direction. Consider the context. So if you notice any errors it has made in the past, you may as well add it to the notes or maybe some more context if you want to give. Okay, so this is the prompt that I have given along with the attachment, which is a 500-page document, 50 MB file. Okay. And it took about 1 to 2 minutes to think about it, and then it gave me a very well summarized, insightful commentary that I was looking for. Okay, so it talks about the financial performance of the company. It talks about the highlights of the different business units. What does the commercial vehicle business unit did? What did the Jaguar Land Rover business unit did? What did the passenger vehicle business unit did? It gave me good segment level highlights. Some more details based on what I had given it the prompt. Okay, so it gave me a decent summary, which I would have probably taken maybe a couple of hours to read through the document and then summarize it and get to this level of summary myself. Okay, so that is probably basic. You could attach any document. In this case, I've attached annual report. You could do that with any document, making sure that it is not, it is making sure that the confidentiality of the data is not sacrificed, or it is not uh, uh, making sure that you're following all the rules that are there within the organization. Okay, so that was a basic prompt. Okay, next I wanted it to analyze the revenue trends from the past in based on the document, based on the annual report. Again, I gave it a slightly detailed prompt. I asked it to analyze the revenue trends for the past 3 years and provide commentary on the company's growth. Okay, okay, so this is what it came up with, which was a decent summary of the last 3 years of revenues and the year-on-year growth, and along with some decent commentary, which you can see here on the screen. Okay, along with more detailed level commentary on the overall revenue growth, and then segment-wise revenue growth, and then some of the external influences, some of the cyclical and seasonal factors to give a good analysis of the last 3 years of revenue for this organization. Okay. Then I asked it to give me some more analysis on the gross profit and the operating profits. Okay. Again, it picked up the right numbers for the last 3 years, and it did not have the gross profit or the operating profit number in the annual report. So it replaced that with the EBITDA and the EBIT number. So it says uh, I mean, because it could not find the gross profit or the operating profit, it replaced it with EBITDA and EBIT, which is a good proxy. And it gave a good summary of the EBITDA margin and the EBIT margin and the final profit after tax for the last 3 years, along with the growth rate and good amount of commentary based on the last 3 years trends, and also again the segment wise profitability and the final conclusion. So this is probably, I would have taken maybe 4 to 5 hours to do this on my own, if not for AI tool. Then I gave it another prompt and I asked, from the management discussion and analysis, which is a separate section in the annual report, I wanted to understand what are the priorities of the company in the future. Okay, so identify and analyze strategic priorities of this company for the upcoming year. Again, it did a decent job of going specifically to the MDA section and then giving me the top priorities in terms of strengthening financial and operational excellence, electrification and green mobility, digital transformation and connected. So what are the top priorities of the company in the upcoming years? Okay, so now I have done a lot of research. Probably all of this took me less than 10 minutes to do it in AI tool, versus if I had to do it manually, it might have taken a couple of days. And now I wanted everything in a PowerPoint presentation. So what I asked the tool to do is to create a PowerPoint presentation based on all the research conducted in the prior prompts. And again, earlier I used to just give the one sentence prompt, but as I just mentioned that more detailed prompts you give in terms of the context and the steps and the output format and some more notes that you've based on the past mistakes that it has made, it will give you a much more enhanced or a much more detailed or a much more output that you could use. Okay, so after giving the prompt to create the PowerPoint presentation, mentioning that okay, this is the output I wanted, it took a couple of minutes and then it gave me the final file that I could download. Okay, let me see if I can download this now. I did this maybe an hour back. Okay, so it usually expires after 20 minutes, so I can just show you what was the file that I downloaded. Okay, so just give me a moment. I'll just go to my download box and I'll show you where the file was there. Okay, so it is this file here, which is the Tata Motors analysis presentation. This was downloaded half an hour back, just before the webinar. So let me just open that. Okay, so it gave me all the analysis that I did in the prior prompts in a slide format. Again, this is not the best output that I can directly present, but it is a good starting point, which I can then format it and then probably save 80-90% of the time and then use. So it gave the revenue analysis, profitability trends, commentary on the profitability, strategic priorities for the next year, future outlook, and the conclusion. I might still need to spend maybe another 15 minutes to format this, or maybe use another AI tool which is going to help me format it in a way that is presentable. However, all of this this which took me about 10 minutes on the AI tool would have taken me good 10 to 15 hours in the absence of it. Okay, so this is one use case I usually share a lot, which is not just applicable for the annual report analysis, but you could analyze any document which is more than probably which might take you a couple of days to read and analyze. Okay, I'll take a quick pause, see if there are any comments, questions. If not, then we can go to the next use case.
Asif, very nice example. In this case, basically, hi Vijay here. In
Yeah, hi,
this case,
Vijay.
basically, you can add your template of the PPT and tell the ChatGPT to put the report in your provided template
Yes,
ready-made.
yes, you can do that as well. You can do
Yeah.
that as well. So let me share the. So there is a way where you could share the entire chat GPT, whatever I did in the last 10 minutes. I can just go here, I can just share, and I can just copy this link. And just in case if you want to try it out yourself, I already shared with you the right. I already gave you the Word document, sorry, the PDF document. Now, if you want to just try it yourself, you can just look at this link and then try it yourself. So you should be able to get the entire chat history that I have just showed you. Okay, all right, Dhawal, you want to go for another example, or you want me to continue?
You have one more with ChatGPT, right?
Yeah, I have a couple of more that I want to show, but maybe we'll go back and forth. You can show one, and then I'll come back.
Sure. Okay. So cool. So yeah. So one other tool that I have extensively been using in the last, I would say 6 to 8 months is a tool called Manus. Manus is the closest thing to agentic which a normal person like you and me can use, right? So that is where Manus is. A little bit of advantage of Manus is that I wanted a tool which is good at research, which can also prepare presentations, which can also prepare files, which can also curate websites for me, right? So that wholesome tool I found Manus was far better rather than me generating a prompt in one tool, then trying to go to another tool to generate a PPT. So I wanted one tool which can do the job for me like my intern or like my assistant. And so that's where I found Manus as a tool, which is very helpful. Let me just quickly share a couple of experiments that I've done with Manus, which will which I can share. Hold on. Okay. So here I have, so this is how Manus looks like, so pretty much the window prompting and everything is pretty much like ChatGPT. Okay, so here is a presentation that you see that Manus has given me. Let me just show you the Excel file on basis which the presentation was prepared. So here is a budget presentation for a company. So in FP&A, typically you prepare a budget or an annual budget. Here is how, this is an example of how the budget is prepared. Here you see that the budget is for 2024, and then there is actual data for 23, 22, and 21, and this is on a monthly basis. And then there are some details as well, like department-wise data, which is totaling up to the revenue. And then there is salary register, department-wise salaries, right? And there are some calculations on overhead uplift percentages. So this is a detailed file that is a budget presentation, which is now already prepared. So this, the budget file is already prepared. It has taken some time for the analyst to prepare it. And now I need to go and present it to the CEO, right? So this is how what I did was then I asked Manus, so which is again very similar to ChatGPT, the window and style and very similar to ChatGPT. So here again, I'm going to ask, sir, I'm going to share with you a P&L. This P&L has budget 24 and also the actuals for previous years. Study this P&L in depth, act like an expert FP&A leader, and using the best practices in data storytelling and presentation, prepare a presentation for the CFO, who will then use this to present it to the company CEO. I'm looking at an 8 to 10 slide presentation with key insights. Feel free to use appropriate visuals to make them sharp, make it sharp. Make sure you keep the slides less text heavy and minimalistic. The presentation should be a landscape 16:9 format. Otherwise, the presentation will normally come in a different size, but I want that landscape style presentation. So that's why I had to mention it specifically. Like how we saw in Asif's example, the dimensions of the presentation was the usual dimension, but I want the wider one. So that's why I had to specifically mention it as 16:9 format. And then I pasted that Excel sheet, which I just showed you. That was a sheet that I had pasted. Again, the prompting can be a little bit more detailed as well. You might give a little bit more color context to it. But again, this was sufficient for me for what I was looking for in terms of the presentation. Okay, so then it started processing. Again, all this is the working that you can see, how it is executing a command. It is trying to work with some Python, pandas, right? It is doing on its own. I have no clue what it is doing, but I'm understanding that it is able to use Python on its own and generate these slides or work out on some things, okay, and do some analysis as well. So this is one version of the PPT that I got. However, I was not happy with this. There were the department-wise details, that was on the Excel sheet. So if you look at this Excel sheet that I shared with you, there is a department-wise profitability details as well, which department is earning what profit. So that was missing. So I asked it to edit it and add some more slides for the department-wise profitability as well. So let me just quickly, and all these slides get populated one by one. As and when it starts building the slides, it gives us the details of it. It said, I have completed, this is what I have prepared. And then I asked it to add, why have you not included the information about department-wise profitability? Although the file has information about it, so please add them. And then again, it started working on it. Okay, and finally it added these slides. These are the slides that it added, and it gave me the final presentation. So let me just quickly share with you how the final presentation looks like. Okay, I'm going to play this to you. Pretty decent. I like the visualizations. I like the overall formatting. It will not take much time for me to quickly edit this. Pretty decent in terms of preparing presentations. Probably 6 months from now, it will be even more accurate. Okay, so nice cover page. Then starts with an executive summary. It also reflects on the past performance. What was the 2023 performance? What were the positives? And then again, 2024 concerns are profit margin is coming down, our margin percentage is coming down. Revenue is not growing. In fact, it is coming down by 1%. Staff cost ratio has gone up. So it has highlighted the 4 important concerns for 2024. It is also giving me some recommendations that we need to focus on revenue stabilization, staff cost optimization, bring it within 50 to 55%. If you see, last year it was 49%, and now this year it has cropped up to 56.7%. So it is recommending me to bring it between 50 to 55%. These are some of the focus areas that we need to keep in mind. Then again, it has given me some quick historical snapshot, 21, 22, 23, and 24 as a comparative, trying to give me some information about what was the revenue, what were the margins for the previous years. Again, similar set in a graph. These are my revenue and these are my operating profits. It gives me a good comparison from 21 to 24. I can see that my revenue has almost remained flat from 23 to 2024 budget, but my profitability has come down. My margin has come down significantly from 8.4 million to 6.3 million. Again, 2023 performance highlights. It is trying to reflect on the past year performance. What are some of the key highlights? 11.3% revenue growth, 49.4% EBITDA growth, 7.8 percentage point margin expansion. What were the success factors? Effective cost management, strong on operational efficiency, productivity, staff cost ratio was better. So these are some of the things that it is able to analyze and construct on its own. Then 24 budget analysis. It gave the 2023 historical performance. Now it is giving me 24 budget analysis. What is working, what is not working. Again, some key concerns on revenue drop by 1%, EBITDA decline, margin has declined due to cost pressures or compensation costs. So these are some of the analysis that it is shared. Again, primary drivers of concern. It's trying to stress on the concerns a little bit more, although CEOs would like to see some good news as well. But the year was such that the performance was dipping, and probably that's why the presentation is highlighting the concerns a little bit more. And then also it is giving me the cost breakdown. What are my top costs? What is the percentage breakdown? What is my total cost? Which are my major costs? Staff cost dominates 74% of the total operating expenses. Typically in a services business, 45 to 50% of your revenue is actually staff cost. Here it is 74% of the total cost and not the revenue, right? So these are my top costs. Department profitability overview. These two are the slides which I particularly liked. It is giving me the department-wise performance, where it is telling me which are my, a classic horizontal bar chart. It is telling me which department is performing well in terms of revenue. These are the departments that are not performing well. Loss-making departments, translation and healthcare are loss-making departments. Top 3 performers are these, regional clients, corporate, public affairs. These are the departments that we had. So these are my top 3 departments. Again, it's giving me some departmental performance. I also love this slide, which is typically a 2x2 matrix, or what we call as a quadrant chart or a 2x2 matrix. And if you see, it is giving me, it is on its own evaluating it on 2 parameters, revenue and profitability. And with this structure, it is giving me information that these are my best performing departments. So if you look at this bucket, this is my high revenue, high profitability bucket. So these are the departments which have high revenue, high profitability. These are the departments where my revenue is high, but my profitability is low. It is ranging somewhere between 10 to 15%. But these are in the 50, 60% profitability range, right? And then these are the mid-tier performers where average revenue, average profitability. And these are the concerns, right? Where they have low revenue, low profitability, and probably require a little bit more attention for us to optimize. It is also giving me some information and commentary about the efficiency leaders. ESG is the highest. ESG department is the highest with 51% margin. Data analytics is giving me 42% margin. These are the departments that service different kind of clients, right? So it's a nice quadrant chart or a 2x2 matrix, or you can draw comparisons with the BCG matrix also in a similar structure. Okay. Again, some compensation cost. It is trying to highlight a little bit more in terms of compensation cost. It is trying to give me a benchmark that 50 to 55% is my target compensation range. 50 to 55% of the revenue should be my compensation range. So these are my departments which are most efficient, but these are the departments which are, concerned. Here are the departments which have highest compensation cost or salary cost, which need attention. And it's giving me this benchmark line as well, which is quite impressive. It is giving me this benchmark line on its own, which is giving me an indicator that, hey, these are all the departments which are going above this benchmark. Okay, and these are all the departments which are fine, which are doing fine. Okay, and everything is done by itself. I've not given it a color scheme or a color code or anything like that. It was just that one basic prompt, which is giving us this level of information. If the Excel sheet has a little bit more detailed information, formatted information, if the prompting is a little bit more detailed, we'll probably get better outcomes with this as well. Again, some commentaries around what are the actions required. Critical attention is required towards translation, healthcare, and advocacy departments. Some scaling and priorities around what it wants to do, which are the departments that will help us scale the business. Again, it's its own interpretation. These may or may not be true. We'll have to use our own judgment as an analyst or a CFO. Okay. Yeah. Again, strategic concerns, recommended actions in terms of revenue growth, cost optimizations. Some of the things are repetitive, but again, overall, it is trying to focus on the revenue, comparing it with the benchmark, different kind of costs, comparing it with the benchmark, profitability, and then again, comparing it with the benchmark, and trying to highlight some concerns as well. See, in this particular Excel example, right? So this is probably a bad financial year in the sense that our revenue is actually dipping, our profitability is dipping. So maybe the flavor that Mass is giving as a PPT is more negative. It's trying to highlight concerns a little bit more. If the number was positive, probably the presentation would have been different. It would have highlighted all the success factors, a lot of greens instead of reds you would have seen in the presentation as well. Okay, so let me quickly stop sharing my screen. Okay. Okay, over to you, Asif.
Yeah. ChatGPT cannot, so there's a comment, ChatGPT cannot generate like this. Yes.
Yes, ChatGPT cannot generate like this, not this level of creative PPT. I've tried many times, although I've got PPTs from ChatGPT, but not at this level. But, but again, ChatGPT can give you a good structure of the PPT, which then you will have to probably use a tool like a Gamma or some other tool, presentation.ai, and then put those slide-wise details in that presentation.ai or Gamma, and then generate that PPT as well. But Manus, I found, is better in terms of generating PPTs for now. Again, there are plenty of tools available out there. It completely depends on your comfort zone and the experimentation that you are trying to do.
Okay, let me share a couple of more quick examples on ChatGPT, given that we have only 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Let me just share what we usually do in our CDFP curriculum. So there's one section in our CDFP curriculum, which is the financial analysis section, where we teach our participants to do the entire ratio analysis using Excel file. So if you notice, I'm sharing file with you, which is the Excel file visible to you?
Yes, sir, I can
Yeah.
see it.
So this is a file where you have the financial statements on one sheet. So in the first sheet, you have the income statement for 2 years, and then you have the balance sheet for 3 years. Okay, so you have this as the base for doing the ratio analysis. Okay. And then what we usually do is we manually calculate all the ratios for the current year, and then we calculate that for prior year, and then we are able to do some level of analysis comparing the current year ratios versus the prior year ratios to see what the changes have been on the different aspects, be it profitability ratio, liquidity ratios, activity ratios, then you have solvency ratios, then finally you have the valuation ratio. So there are about 20 different ratios that we analyze using Excel file manually, looking at the linking it to the income statement and the balance sheet. So this is an experiment where we tried to do this using AI tool, or in this case, we are using the Chat GPT. So what we did was we pasted the income statement and the balance sheet snapshot. So it is not even uploading the Excel file. It is just taking a snapshot of the P&L, which is the income statement, and then the balance sheet, which you saw just in the Excel file. And then I'm giving it a prompt to calculate all the financial ratios that we manually calculate in the Excel file. Okay. Again, I'm giving it a slightly detailed prompt to calculate all the ratios that I want. And also I'm giving it the formula, because what I've noticed is if you don't give it the formula, it might assume a certain some different definition of the formula. For example, if I want to calculate the inventory turnover ratio as cost of goods sold divided by the average inventory, in some cases I've noticed that it doesn't take the average inventory, it might take the year-end inventory. Okay. So I wanted it to be very specific in terms of the formulas that I have as definitions. So I'm giving it the exact definitions or the formulas that I'm using so that I am able to get more accurate results. Okay, so I've given it all the formulas that I need along with all the ratios that I need along with the formulas, and then it took a couple of minutes to analyze and calculate, and finally it gave me this output, which is I found it to be fairly accurate in terms of most of the ratios. So let me just show you one or two examples. If, for example, let me just show you. Okay, so if I compare the randomly, I'll pick one or two ratios. So, for example, if I compare the total asset turnover ratio, here you have 1.14 for 2023 and 1.09 for 2022. Let's see what is here. Total asset turnover ratio is 1.14 and 1.09. Okay. So I'm just randomly checking a few of them. Okay. Quick current ratio here is 2.25, 1.89. Let's see what is the current ratio here. Okay. So current ratio is 2.25 and 1.89. So I have checked this and I found like most of the ratios were accurately calculated. I would say 19 of the 20, maybe one or two places I found a slight deviation, although it was not an error. It was just a rounding of decimal where the number was maybe few decimals points away. Okay. So this is another example where you could do ratio analysis using AI tool like ChatGPT, or you could do this in any other AI tool as well, which is giving you a similar result. Okay, so let me quickly cover another one and then we will go back to the slides. Okay, so another common calculations or analysis that we do in day-to-day finance role is evaluating different projects, longer term projects in terms of are they a good fit or are they a good investment, or if you want to pick one project out of the two, comparing the NPV, IRR, and the return on investment. So that is one of the common use cases that we see and we do in finance on a fairly regular basis. So here is another example where I have shared one of the case studies that we cover in the class, where I have shared the details. Okay, this is the initial investment. This is the annual cash inflows that I'm expecting. It's a 5-year project. The discount rate is 16%, and I am looking to calculate the NPV and IRR for this particular situation. Okay, so I've just uploaded the image and I'm giving it a certain prompt and I'm asking you just calculate the NPV. Second, you calculate the IRR. Then you calculate the payback period, then you calculate the discounted payback period, and I want the output in this particular format where I have the NPV, the first bullet point, IRR in the second bullet point, and then so on and so forth. Okay, I'm also giving it the certain more guidance. Ensure that all the calculations are accurate and use correct financial formulas. Consider edge cases where IRR might not be easy. So I'm just adding some more notes based on my previous experience, and I am giving this prompt, and again it did some analysis, and then finally it came up with the result, which is the final NPV, IRR, and payback period. Okay, let me just compare it to what I did it in Excel. So let me open up the Excel file. Okay, so this was the example that I used to earlier calculate in Excel. I used to tabulate this in the Excel file and then use the Excel formula for calculating the NPV, which was calculating the present values of the future cash inflows in step number one, and then subtracting the initial investment, then getting to the NPV. So I needed to know the exact NPV logic and the NPV formula to be able to do that. Then I calculated IRR using, I used to calculate IRR using the Excel formula. And in this example, you don't see the payback period here in Excel. However, if I just compare it to what the ChatGPT output gave me, it gave me exactly the accurate output, which is NPV is $30,000. IRR is 29.65, which is also the case. If you just expand this, you see this is 29.65. Okay. And the discounted payback period and the payback period data is also, or the calculations are also accurate. Okay. Now, after doing this, I asked it another prompt. I gave it another prompt, and I asked, evaluate whether this project is worth investing or not based on the NPV, IRR, and the payback period analysis. Okay. Ensure that the recommendation is based on balanced consideration of all the factors and be clear and concise in giving the final output. Okay. So this is a prompt that I gave, and it did a good analysis of, okay, this project is worth investing because the NPV is positive, meaning that it adds value beyond the cost or the discount rate, which is 16%. IRR is 28.65%, which is well above the 16% required rate of return. Payback period is strong. Within 2.5 years, you get back your initial investment with for a right. So this is what analysis it gave, which is a decent analysis. And now anybody can do this without even understanding what I would say how the NPV is calculated, right? For me to be able to do that earlier, I need to understand what NPV is, what IRR is, how they are calculating. Okay, now, without even understanding how it is calculated, if I am able to give the right instruction to the AI tool, I am able to get the correct result or the correct output of the analysis. Okay, so these are just a few of the hundreds of examples we have tested over the last, I would say, couple of years. And if we had more time, we would have shared more examples. So, but in the interest of time, I'll give back this to Dhawal, and he can continue the slides which he had planned.
Thanks, Asif. I can just quickly share a couple of more things that are prepared. So just give me a second. So here is a rent versus buy calculator that I had done again through some basic prompting that for UAE based rent versus buy calculator. Here you can fill in your own details. What is the mortgage percentage, rent, return on the down payment, all of these things, and then it will give you information on whether you should do a rent versus buy with a calculation, break-even analysis, all of that stuff. The other tool that I had also created through Manus was a self-service website on FP&A tool ROI calculator, assuming that, let's say, if you want to implement a FP&A tool in your company, you can do a thorough analysis. You can start your analysis here. It'll ask you various set of questions. How much is the current time taken on monthly close process, cost savings, error reduction, all of these things. And then if you put this information and then finally, let me just quickly show you continue to cost and view ROI results. It will show you graphs, and it will also tell you whether you should go ahead with the FP&A tool implementation, what is the benefits, payback period, all of these things is possible. Again, in the interest of time, I'll just stop here. So the plenty of things are possible. Self-service dashboard, analysis dashboards, all of these things are possible to deliver. But yeah, these are again some of the experiments that we have conducted in the last few months. Okay, so coming back to the slides, we are almost coming to the end of this training program. So now that you have some understanding of practical use cases in AI, there could be many things that can be done by AI engineers themselves, but you and me who are finance professionals trying to understand and implement it in our workflow, there are plenty of skills that you can still learn to use it in your regular workflow, hopefully grab some opportunities in an AI-driven FP&A or a finance function. So if you are ready for that, then we have our course, which is AI for Finance and FP&A course, where we are trying to cover a little bit more in detail about AI and generative AI models. We are trying to understand more on, experiment more, and share with you some more cases and in depth as to how you can use ChatGPT for your finance function, use Copilot, other tools like Manus, Gemini, all of these different kind of functions, and try and integrate them in your workflow with various use cases, which we have tried with FP&A use cases, FP&A and finance related use cases. We try to share some of more use cases, give you some hands-on experiment and training as well. This is a live 4 weeks program. So this program is, live and easy for your convenience. Again, you don't need to spend like hours and hours together. It will be a 2-hour live training every week where we will be doing things in the class itself. You will start seeing results in less than 4 weeks. And then all 100% practical case studies and examples that problems that we have encountered in our roles or things that we wanted to automate in our finance and FP&A function. And you will get certified by a Professionals Institute. There'll also be monthly Q&A sessions with the faculty and also some external experts. We do a lot of sessions with external experts who come and share their experiences as to how they are using technology for their finance and FP&A roles. And you'll also have access to the global FP&A FPI community. So students at FP&A Professionals Institute come from probably more than 50 plus countries who are very active students, and they are taking a lot of our courses and our training programs and webinars as well. So that's what we'll be looking at. The next cohort of AI for Finance and FP&A program is starting on 8th of November, which is a Saturday. On every Saturday, it will be from 10 a.m. to 12 noon IST, just for 2 hours. Okay, so and the investment in this program is $247, but you have been all such a nice audience today. So we thought of giving you some exclusive offer and give a $50 discount as well, and do it at $197. Again, no pressure from our end. You can completely learn things on your own. But if you want some structured effort on this, then this is the course that you should definitely be part of, right? So Asif is sharing the links for enrollment in the chat box. You can use the coupon code AI50 to avail the $50 off, and you'll get the AI for Finance and FP&A Masterclass for $197, which is a 4 weeks program. We'll meet for 2 hours every week live, do some experiments, we'll also give you some homeworks and pre-readings, and then you prepare those and then come to the next classroom. So overall, you will notice that within 4 weeks time, you have made some concrete steps, taken some significant steps towards integrating AI in your normal workflow as well. Okay, so with that, we will conclude today's webinar. So happy to take any questions. We still have 5-10 minutes. Happy to take any questions about the course, about your finance careers, or about AI in general. Happy to take that thing as well. Joe, it's a live program, but we don't have subtitles in Spanish at the moment. At the moment, we don't have that, but we are working on that. Okay, any thoughts, any questions on what we have covered so far today? Yes, Joe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Joe, I completely understand. I mean, like, we have been experimenting with some AI tools to give us the subtitles, but they've not all been flawless as such. Probably a project in the pipeline. But as of now, we don't have any subtitles on this course. Okay, any thoughts, any questions on what we have covered so far? On any tools? Can those calculators be shared in our organizations? You will have to check with your IT team if they are, usually the IT teams evaluate the security or the security around it. If they are okay, then you can share them. But as of now, these are all public platforms, right? So be very careful about sharing your company-related data on these platforms. But what we anticipate is that within 3 to 6 months from now, enterprises will come with their own models. At least large companies will have their own LLMs or their own ChatGPT or Manus, which you can then use to do all of these things. And it will be far more easier for you to use those kind of tools as well. Yeah, Naveen has a question. For month-end accounting close, can you suggest any specific tools? Again, many of us look at AI from a tool perspective, but there's no one plug-and-play tool. Even if there are, then you'll have to check with your IT team to look at enterprise-grade security in those tools as well. Many times, your ERP is giving an embedded extension on these models as well, because ERPs are also working a lot on trying to bring more AI features, as an upgrade. I know SAP is working on a lot of AI upgrades. I know JDocs, Anaplan, all of these are working on a lot of AI upgrades. So maybe you'll have to check with your service provider as well to see if there is an embedded tool that is possible for you to execute accounting closes. See, one thing I would share with all of you here is that don't look at AI as a tool, right? Tool is just one part of the entire AI universe. Okay? The more comfortable you get with interacting with tools today, although they might be public platforms and they may have certain limitations in sharing the company data, but your job today is to start getting comfortable with using these kind of tools. Because tomorrow companies will come up with their own set of tools, which will be ChatGPT style tool, which will interact with all the internal company data. It will interact with payroll software, contract software, CRMs, everything, right? But at that time, you can't start learning prompting. You can't start learning using these tools. That's why the learning process has to start now, and these tools will get better. Enterprises will start implementing tools, and at that time, you will have one step ahead. You will be one step ahead. You will be comfortable using these tools as well. And there's a question, as a finance professional, should we focus on creating AI applications for finance? Absolutely. Creating AI applications for finance is possible. Even a low code, no code platform or applications are possible to be created. But again, how flawless are they? Can you use them in your company? Do they have enterprise grade security? Those things are something which are technical in nature, and I'm not qualified to answer that. IDs can answer that. But yes, creation is definitely possible. Low code, no code apps, like for example, once I tried to experiment sharing an Excel sheet. I wanted like a website where I will share any Excel sheet, okay? And the website will act as an FP&A analyst, share that Excel sheet, and give me a dashboard or give me a summary, right? It was not entirely flawless, but it did some decent analysis. It gave me some decent graphs and topics, but this was again 6 months ago. Maybe things have improved by now as well. Okay, so if there are no more questions, then we can wrap up for today. Hoping to see you in one of our programs. Whether it is FP&A Finance or AI for Finance, there are plenty of programs available on our platform. Do check out fpnaprofessionals.com. Okay, Manish has a question. Is this AI for Finance course content covered in CGFP course also, or is this different? Yes, Manisha, we are covering the AI for Finance and FP&A module in the CGFP course as well. For all those of you who don't know what a CGFP is, Certified Global FP&A Professional Program. This is our 6-month exhaustive certification, which covers nearly everything around FP&A, budgeting, forecasting, management reporting, data storytelling, financial modeling, business partnering. And yes, of course, AI module is also there in the CGFP program. Okay, thanks everyone. Have a great weekend. Keep learning, keep growing. All the very best. Asif and I are always available on LinkedIn. If you have to reach out for anything specific, feel free to reach out. All the best, everyone. Bye-bye.